What to make of the markets and what should your strategy be like? Let's try to decode that, and let me welcome on board Sandip Sabharwal, who's joining us on the show right now, as well as we also have Akshay with us. And Akshay, quickly, if I can have your take on the benchmark indices given the weakness, and after that initial fall in the first couple of hours, we are just trading at those levels with a downcut of over 1% now. Give us some sense that where do you see the index headed?
Good afternoon. So yes, technically, if you look at the slightly broader picture, there has been some selling intent since the last couple of days. What I see in derivatives is a lot of long liquidation, and the pressure primarily is because of the spike in the US 10-year bond yields. That's one of the reasons which is contributing to this fall. If I were to see the levels, 24,500 is one of the options put writing support, but slowly this is giving way as we are trading below the support levels. And there is a chart gap which has been seen in few trading sessions back at the levels of 24,100. So in all likelihood, the broader positional view is suggestive that this gap may likely be filled at 24,100. That is the downside one can look forward to. And right now, the resistance for the market is 24,800. So short term, possible indications or early indications are that markets are or trying to head down for levels of 24,100.
Okay, we could be staring lower at 24,100 levels as well, already sub that 25K mark. Sandeep, hi, afternoon. How is it that you're analyzing the market landscape? Today, it seems like we've fallen prey to the global weakness. But does it seem like 25,000 thereabouts was as best as it could get in the near term?
Aisha, the markets rallied 17-18% from the bottom. So obviously, a few percentage of correction after that is a logical outcome. Now, the reasons come about why it is correcting. So some global event will come, some domestic event will come, etc. So I think all that is fine. So markets, I believe, are in a fine fettle. There's no big concern per se. And so because the macroeconomic outlook is looking good and strong, and in that context, it should do well. So globally, there's volatility related to bond yield spikes, etc. But I think those are more to do with those specific economies, and I don't think that there will be repercussions unless and until the bond prices totally get unhinged and it leads to some sort of crisis scenario, which is a low probability event at this point of time.
What is it that we should brace ourselves for? From those tariff announcements, from the March lows, we've made a decent recovery, like you said. But from here, would you be in a rush to put still fresh money to work, or would you say wait it out? Because, again, the profit taking or this bout of correction also could be as steep has been the climb up.
If the market rally 17-18%, then obviously 4-5% at least they'll give up. So maybe 1,000 point from the top is not uh, unlikely event. It's more a likely event. So I think once as that plays out, then people should be looking to deploy. I don't think that we are going to get a very, very deep correction.
All right, but Sandeep, also give us your take on Dixon Technologies. I'm sure that we have touched this counter with you a lot many times, but the earnings this time were not that bad. Yes, of course, there has been some concerns related to the valuations, the kind of stretched valuations, or rather rich valuations, what these analysts highlight. And also there were some delays in some of the upcoming projects. But do you believe that the 7% cut was warranted for Dixon Technologies? And at these levels, do you still believe in the long-term growth story?
Yeah, I think growth is going to be there at least for the next 2-3 years. And that will be rapid growth based on what the company is saying. But I think the valuations are totally dealing from the reality of what the company does. So contract manufacturing companies, which have a high proportion of the income coming from PLI benefits and operating at 3.5-4% kind of margins, cannot have price earning ratios of 120 times. So I think the valuations are excessive. extreme, like I think they're on the extreme end of excessive. And I would think that the stock will require a significant correction for it to be one in any reasonable range of buying.
I'm just going to bring up the chart for IndusInd Bank because really that's been the curious case today, hasn't it? It's really been a quarter to forget. While the core profitability has been muted, there were several one-offs even post that forex adjustment. Which led to this kind of loss that they've incurred in this quarter to the tune of about 22 billion rupees of a loss that they have seen. Having said that, on the con call, the chairman mentioned that RBI has asked for MD and CEO candidate names by 20th June. So it seems like things are headed in the right direction to, form the next set of leadership at IndusInd Bank. But Sandip, were you surprised when the stock opened gap down and was, I think, almost holding up 3% at the session highs today? Does it seem like all the negative in the is already in the price for IndusInd?
When you said curious case, I remembered this movie, Curious Case of Benjamin
Benjamin
Button.
Button, yes.
So it totally reverse to. So I think it's also going the totally reverse side. So in financial, Aisha, my view is that we should not be Robin Hoods in financial stocks. So there have been so many things which have come out from IndusInd Bank. And when the new management takes over, a new CEO takes over, I believe there'll be further things which could potentially come out. We don't know. There is a low probability that nothing more comes out, but there is a very high probability something else comes out. I think this bank will now need to go through a phase of significant consolidation, rebuilding, etc., over a period of time. And people should be very careful buying into this bank, irrespective of what the valuation ostensibly looked like. Because finally banks are valued on price to book, but what is the book? We've seen, so I'm not comparing it with Yes Bank in any way, but then we saw the book can be totally unreal in case of many financials. So I think people should be very, very careful, at least in financials. Like other companies, you can take risk, but in financials, the risk, I don't think you should take so much risk.
I wish I could say that IndusInd Bank is reverse aging like Brad Pitt, but clearly not. Akshay, tell me, what's been your reading? Was there serious amount of short covering on IndusInd when it opened for trade today?
Yes, so data-wise, yes, there was some bit of short covering in the opening trades. And if you look at the broader setup of IndusInd Bank, at least from a month perspective, the setup continues to be neutral. So right now, the range which is pretty evident is the support of 725. That's where we opened today. That's where there was a slight short covering intent. And if there is a recovery, you can expect more of a recovery till 840, which was the recent swing low. So I believe this is more of a stock which would bode well with the trading community, buy supports, sell resistance, but really from a buy and hold perspective, still there are no strong cues emerging going by the technical setups.
The other one, of course, which has been a solid set of numbers, no doubt about it, but what you saw was an influx of Mahakumbh in the quarter gone by, extended wedding season as well, and that really favored Interglobe's numbers. Having said that, there are, of course, some near-term issues which the management highlighted in the call yesterday. They're guiding for a Q1 FY26 hours growth of mid-teens. They're talking about the India-Pakistan conflict impact, stating that operations at 11 airports, which is 170 flights daily, were suspended for about almost 8 days because of the Pakistan airbase closure. They're also talking about damp leasing 5 additional wide-body aircrafts from North Atlantic in the second half, and that the airport at Noida and Navi Mumbai is expected to start from June 26. They're hopeful of the government permission to extend damp lease from Turkey airline operators beyond May 25, as customer tickets have already been booked and company continues to be in full compliance with the measures there. But Sandeep, again, it's really about how much price do you want to pay for Interglobe. There is no doubt it's the market leader. It's a very, very narrow listed pool. You don't have options other than Interglobe Aviation. But do you buy at these levels, or do you profit take at these levels, around 5,500 thereabouts?
You definitely don't profit take because their competitive positioning is so strong and they are so well placed that I think they'll continue to do well. Their profits, the profits they reported were 30-40% more than what the best analyst actually was expecting. Obviously, the impact of the conflicts and some slowdown, etc., would happen in the month of May. But the long-term value of a company doesn't get affected at all about with what happens in a particular month. I think directionally it's very well placed. Uh, Competitive intensity in the Indian skies is not going to increase because new players are not going to come in. And SpiceJet obviously is a very small operator now, so it's largely Interglobe, Air India, and Akasa as some share. I think if all of us take flights and all, we know how full the flights are. I think they're in a sweet position. I would think that any correction which comes about due to negative factors, one bad month, etc., would be an opportunity to buy rather than looking at to sell the stock.
Right. Okay, that's the take coming in on Interglobe Aviation, pretty much a core portfolio name. So any decline should be used as an opportunity to buy into the stock. But let's also hear what the management had to say about the capacity guidance and growth, of course, going forward.
For the financial year 2026, we've already provided a capacity guidance that we will broadly grow our capacity by early double digits as compared to the financial year 2025. For the first quarter of the fiscal year 2026, we expect to add mid-teens capacity compared to the same period last year. April performed well from a revenue standpoint. However, following the geopolitical disruptions, we have seen some impact on our overall revenue environment due to increase in cancellation and impact on the booking trends. We are closely monitoring the evolving trends to assess the impact on PRAS for Q1 2026.
All right, so that was the management of Interglobe Aviation. In this market as well, the stock is holding on to the shade of green. But like we were just chatting about IndusInd Bank, the company in its con call mentioned that all the issues related to discrepancies are duly identified and addressed. But what's next for IndusInd Bank? Will RBI take further action? Ankur joins in with all the details. Ankur?
Yes, after IndusInd Bank has reported its Q4 earnings, the bigger question remains what happens next to IndusInd Bank. We understand that the bank is going to report the fraud matter to either regulator or investigative agencies because the bank has now found that there was not just process lapse but a fraud has happened against the bank. There is likely involvement of employees of the bank in it, and the bank has clearly mentioned that it has suspected occurrence of fraud against the bank, not just irregularity. Now, the total accounting discrepancy is pegged around 1,269 crore in FY25, but more importantly, now it is up to regulator on what action it takes. Sources have informed us that RBI is keeping a close eye on IndusInd Bank regarding the matter because it is also awaiting what happens to the names of CEOs which is yet to reach the door of Reserve Bank of India. Remember, the bank has clearly mentioned that it is in process of finalizing its successor and these names are likely to be sent before 30th June, which is the deadline of finalizing those names. Apart from that, we also know that the oversight committee is what actually running the show under the leadership of Sunil Mehta, and already the global executive firms is in process of finalizing the names, but we understand that it is going to be the outside candidate for the name of CEO of IndusInd Bank. But more importantly, even after the clarification, even after the Q4 earnings conference, there are more questions than answer for the bank.
All right, thank you so much, Ankur, for getting us all those details. But with this, let's